Good morning, Ann. Good morning, Ann. We are ready when you are.
Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests, and welcome to the October 21st meeting of the Rotary Club of York. Providing our song and pledge today are Steve Feldman, and our invocation is given by Eric Chase.
Rotarians, please join me in the singing of America, My Country, 'Tis of Thee. If you're at home, you're welcome to sing out loud. If you're in the ballroom, we ask that you sing it in your mind where you're always in tune. Please join me. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Words from Deuteronomy. If among you one of your brothers or sisters should become poor in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother or sister, but you shall open your hand to them and give them sufficient for their need, whatever it may be. Lord, we request a blessing upon this meeting, our leaders, our presenters, our Rotary Club, and on people of goodwill everywhere. May we prove ourselves worthy citizens of our country, devoted to truth, sincere in fellowship, given to service, and confident in steadfast faith. Preserve us faithful to these ideals, and let us stand firm when the fight is hard. Give us strength sufficient for this day and the unknown days ahead. Lord, we come in gratitude for all the many blessings in our own lives, for the food before us and those who have prepared and served it, and for organizations like the York County and Central PA Food Banks, who bless those in needs in our towns. May we too be the example by opening our hearts and hands to our brothers and sisters in need as we continue to place service above self. Amen.
I have no volume virtually. Ben, if you could please replug the mic in.
You could hear the voices throughout our community of our Rotarians singing virtually. So I do want to remind you that the registration link will be in the announcement that will be sent shortly for next week's meeting. And if you would please get your RSVP into us by 5 p.m. on Friday, that is very helpful. We in the Country Club appreciate that. We are having a strategic planning committee meeting today at 1:30 via Zoom. Rotary Leadership Institute, we've talked about that a few times, will be held virtually Saturday, October 24th, this Saturday from 9 to 2 for all Rotarians and interested in learning more about Rotary. And if you're interested in this event, please contact Bert for more details. As always, your program suggestions are welcome and appreciated. You can give those to past president and program committee chair Mike Summers. And next on our screen, you will see the Rotary four-way test. 2020 has delivered some interesting forces that are dividing us this year, and they're tremendous. From the global pandemic that is keeping us masked and virtual and distant, to the economic turmoil, social injustices, and systemic racism, all amidst the rancor of a presidential election. Fortunately, as Rotarians, we have a solid foundation and a guiding light, and that is the Rotary four-way test. Today, more than ever, how can we rely on the four-way test to guide our community service, our committee work, and our interactions with each other? I challenge Rotarians to use the four-way test to look at ourselves, to incorporate the four-way test into our committee work, our conversations, and also those emails that keep us connected in the virtual environment. The four-way test is a nonpartisan and non-sectarian ethical guide for Rotarians to use in their personal and professional relationships. The test has been translated into more than 100 languages. The test. Of the things we say or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you for consideration of that. Next, we'd like to invite Bill Hartman to the podium for a Rotary Foundation announcement. Bill.
Thank you, President Ann. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. As you may know, October is Polio Month, and October 24th is Polio Plus Day. So therefore, President Ann thought it would be a good idea that today we have our poll be done on the subject of polio, and in particular, the progress that we've made. So today's poll question is this: since the implementation by Rotary International of Polio Plus, by what percentage have worldwide polio cases declined? Now, only the virtual attendees to the meeting will be able to vote, so please vote now. How's the voting coming along, Ben? Okay. We have some local attendees at the country club trying to influence the voting. Yeah. Okay. I have to put on my glasses to be able to read them. Okay, 99% is the. 85%
are voting for 99.
Okay, 85%. And how many are voting for 90%? 12% for 90. And 3% for 75. And the sentiment here at the country club was 99%. And that's absolutely right. With the African region now recently certified as free of the polio virus, worldwide cases have declined by 99% since Rotary International's implementation of the Polio Plus program. That's very, very impressive. That's just incredible. And now we're down to simply Afghanistan and Pakistan as the only remaining countries that are not yet certified to be free of the virus. So we do want to keep the pressure on and get 100% of the world free of polio. So today we're making two asks. First, we want to talk about the Rotary Foundation. We made a presentation on the foundation several meetings ago. We would like to see 100% of the Rotary Club of York membership give to the Rotary Foundation, because this enables us to do local projects as well as make global grants. So how do you give to the Rotary Foundation? Well, you can do it as part of your quarterly bill. You can send a check payable to the Rotary Foundation and send it to Bert, or you can go online and make your contribution and do it that way. The second request we have is related to polio and our continued efforts to eradicate polio. So after you have made your gift to the Rotary Foundation, we would like you to consider making a $100 gift to Polio Plus. Well, how do you make a $100 gift to Polio Plus? Well, first of all, you can go online to Rotary.org and click on the donate button, or you can send a check to Polio Plus Society and send the check to Bert. You can never go wrong sending money to Bert. So most importantly, we want everyone to support the Rotary Foundation. It enables us to not just do good in the world, but to do a lot of very worthwhile constructive projects here in York County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill. So ends the high math portion of our Rotary meeting today. 99% eradication of polio and 100% participation in the foundation. Thank you, Bill, for your leadership of the foundation committee this year. And Rotary obviously has a very high success rate. Our next speaker is Ron Hirschner, and he is going to give us a glimpse of the success that our future will have based upon these exemplary students that are joining us from York Country Day. So I'll turn it over virtually to Ron.
And Ron, if you can accept the webcam request, I just sent it over. There you are, perfect.
Thank you, President Ann. It is, as usual, my honor and privilege to introduce students from York Country Day School. What's unusual today is that we're doing this virtually. The Students of the Month program has been, a hallmark of our committee, and we decided we really wanted to continue that even though we're meeting remotely. York Country Day is the first school that we've been able to accomplish this, and I want to especially thank Jake Dahl from York Country Day, who along with our tech team has done a superb job of coordinating this so that we can present these two students today. They are both 11th graders. They have each an interesting topic that I think is valuable for persons of any age, and I think you'll find them both very impressive students. The first is Emily Mock. She is interested in robotics and theater, videography, and especially the technical aspects of theater. She's a member of the National Honor Society, was the recipient of the Ruth Winter Award, which is given to a student at York Country Day for involvement in the community. She wants to pursue a career in engineering and business after high school. And the topic she's going to speak about is the importance of teamwork, a lesson that she learned through robotics programs. Second speaker will be Raphael Degworth. Raphael is very active in sports, including soccer and tennis. He's a student ambassador at the school. His interests include sailing, skiing, and photography. He was a Hobie 2020 alumni. He also would like to pursue a career in business in the future. Raphael is from Austria, moved to York, and began attending York Country Day. And his topic will be about how to break out of your comfort zone to take on new challenges. So two great students. We welcome you to the Rotary Club of York, and thanks to all who made this possible.
As a kid, I was never athletic. I was never on 3 different sports teams at once, and I certainly had no hand-eye coordination. While I wasn't out being sporty, I was inside reading and doing my schoolwork. Another thing you should know about me is that I'm a natural leader and don't enjoy group projects. I had a nasty habit throughout elementary and middle school where I would do the majority of the project by myself because I knew that only I was going to be able to complete it to my own high standard. One of the things that I think I missed out on because I never did sports was that I didn't learn how to be a member of a team and how to work with other people. Sophomore year, I decided to join York Country Day School's first Tech Challenge robotics team. I could go on and on about all of the ways that joining the Gearhounds was one of my best decisions yet, but today I'll just stick with one: teamwork. To briefly describe FTC, it is a worldwide competition where high schoolers build robots to compete based on a game put out by FIRST, which is an organization that stands for the Inspiration and Recognition of Technology. These competitions require not only mechanical and technical skill, but it also requires game strategy, collaboration, and teamwork. On my first day as a Gearhound, we started by working on prototypes for the robot in small teams, and I eventually found my passion for coding, all while working with other people. Teamwork is an integral part of the robotics challenge. starting with the build and design of the robot to strategizing what points we were going to try and earn during competitions. Being a gearhound made me realize how beneficial teamwork is to any task, big or small, and I have carried these skills in communicating and collaborating with others into other facets of my life. Robotics competition is a non-traditional sport, but builds the same team values as physical competition. Following rules, fair play, strategy, and calculated risk-taking are what I have learned being a Gearhounds team member. Without the guidance from my fellow teammates, I would not be where I am today with my knowledge and skills in coding and game strategy. If it were not for robotics, this non-physical athlete might have missed out on these critical team-building life skills needed as a foundation for my chosen career path.
Stepping out of your comfort zone is one of the most important things we all must learn at some point. But what does that really mean? I know I may not look or sound like it, but I was actually not born here in the United States. I come from the small country of Austria, known mainly for Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sound of Music. I was 11 years old when I came to York for my parents' work, and my English was rather shaky, to say the least. When I first arrived here, I was immediately hit by an environment very much unlike the one I knew all my life. As a result, I was not very outgoing and kept to myself for most of the summer, spending a good part of my day in the basement playing pool. However, the beginning of school began to draw closer and closer. Sometime in late July, I finally decided to push myself out of the comfort zone and signed up for the middle school cross-country team, hoping to make some friends before the start of school. So, there I was, a shy foreigner surrounded by people I could only have a very simple conversation with. I'd say that's as far outside my comfort zone as I could imagine. At first, I struggled very much and already considered quitting. But then I came to a realization which would impact my life for years to come. I realized that the only way to truly grow is by leaving your comfort zone. Although this may sound simple, stepping outside your comfort zone can be extremely difficult and can sometimes seem impossible. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this speech, it is this: true growth only occurs outside of one's comfort zone, and only the complete embrace of discomfort will allow you to rise above it. Once I came to this realization back when I first came here, I not only left my comfort zone, I fully embraced the discomfort and made many new friends on the cross-country team, some of whom are still my best friends today. Not only that, I also began to actively seek conversation with other kids, which is why I was able to pick up English rather quickly. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. Next time you find yourself outside your comfort zone, think of this speech, and hopefully my words can inspire you to embrace the opportunity and grow and learn new things. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to Emily and Raphael on this designation as our Students of the Month. And thank you so much to Ron and the committee for these opportunities to recognize our students for their excellent work. And their comments of teamwork are certainly appropriate, as just producing today's event is an exercise in teamwork. And certainly Raphael's comments about stepping out of your comfort zone, I think we've all been experiencing that over the last 7 months in a big way, living that large. But through our efforts of dealing with these uncomfortable situations and scary and uncertain situations, teamwork is really going to help us prevail as individuals, as a club, and as a community. So those were excellent words at this point in time. And now I'd like to introduce our Jen Brillhart, who will introduce our program. Jen will provide us with some remarks. Jen is the CEO of the York County Food Bank and a perfect individual to introduce our speaker, Joe Arthur, today. Take it away, Jen.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, and thank you for the introduction, President Ann. It is my pleasure today to introduce my colleague and fellow anti-hunger advocate, Joe Arthur, Executive Director of the Central PA Food Bank. Joe was appointed Executive Director of the Food Bank in 2012 after serving 4 years as Associate Director. Joe also served as a volunteer board member with the food bank from 2000 through 2005 and served as board president in 2004 and 2005. Prior to joining the food bank, Joe worked for 23 years in finance and accounting management, primarily with Pennsylvania community banks. As the food bank's principal ambassador, Joe presents regularly on the issue of hunger in Pennsylvania and nationally to community groups, legislative gatherings, government partners, and other forums. Joe is also a National Council representative with the food bank's national affiliate, Feeding America, as well as a member on the Governor's Food Security Partnership. And last but not least, Joe is also a member of the Rotary Club of Harrisburg. Today, Joe will be sharing with us how the Central PA Food Bank has responded to the hunger needs in Central Pennsylvania during the pandemic. However, before I hand over the virtual mic to Joe, I would like to share just a few points about the organization I serve, the York County Food Bank, as there often is confusion in the community regarding our food bank and our relationship with Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. In York County, we are fortunate that we have not just one, but two strong food banks serving our area. As Joe will share with you in his presentation, his food bank is the regional food bank that serves the entire Central PA region, spanning 27 counties. The York County Food Bank, however, differs in that we are a local food bank that strictly serves York County. While our service areas differ, our overall operations are similar in that both organizations source food from many sources and redistribute it to a network of charitable food partners. Our partners consist of food pantries, soup kitchens, emergency food providers, schools, and more. So what does that mean for York County? It means that York County has access to a large amount of food and resources to strive that no one in York goes hungry. In addition to redistribution efforts, the York County Food Bank also provides food directly to York Countyans who are food insecure. Prior to COVID, we did this by way of our Client Choice Food Pantry that was located in the city, pop-up food distributions, senior food box distributions, our annual holiday meal program known as Give a Meal, and more. Post-COVID, many of our York programs have been altered to ensure safety and meet the increased need throughout the community. One such example is the Emergency Food Hub on Haynes Road in East York that many of you may have seen. We opened this in March to respond to the increased need as a result of COVID. At this location, we host a weekly drive-through food distribution in which families are provided with at least a week's worth of groceries that include fresh produce, dairy, meat, and more. We are currently serving approximately 1,000 families a week from that location alone. And our long-standing distribution site in the city continues to provide families and individuals that struggle with transportation to the East York location. None of our hunger relief efforts would be possible if it wasn't for the support of organizations such as Rotary, countless volunteers and donors, and most importantly, the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. The Central Pennsylvania Food Bank provides us with weekly truckloads of food, monetary support, guidance on our operations, and more. We work hand in hand with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, and as Joe has said many times, by working together, we can fight hunger in York by providing better access, better food, and life-changing hope to our neighbors in need. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to pass the virtual mic to Joe Arthur.
Thank you, Jennifer. I truly appreciate that wonderful introduction, and I'm glad you were able to share how our relationship works. It's actually an amazing partnership, and I want you to know a little ad lib here from my prepared comments, which you'll see on the screen shortly. During the pandemic, during COVID, our network in York that we support and work with, including the York County Food Bank, but about another 80 partners in total, we've increased the distribution in York County by about 1.8 million pounds. It's a very big number. And I want everybody in the York, the Rotary Club of York, to know that of that 1.8 million extra pounds, 1.4 million pounds, or about 80% of it, was distributed by Jen and her team over at the York County Food Bank. So truly an amazing performance. So with that ad lib aside, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you to President Ann. And thank you also listening to Eric's message from Deuteronomy. I can't think of a better introduction for what we're about to talk about here today, and caring for our fellow neighbors that are struggling. And I will assure you, President Ann, that this will be aligned with the four-way test. As a fellow Rotarian, as Jen mentioned, I totally get the four-way test, and we will be aligned with that. So I'm going to bring up onto the screen my slides for today. I want to just check in with the technical folks. Can you see that on the screen?
Yep, go ahead and click slideshow, current slide.
Got you.
From beginning.
And from
Perfect.
the beginning, right. How are we doing? Can we see that?
Perfect.
Okay. Well, that's me, and I happen to be standing in our offsite packing center, which since the mid-March has been located at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. And if you know that building, and particularly if you're from one of our friends from agriculture, you would know that building. This is where we operate in the Expo Center, and that space has been provided to us throughout the pandemic. And we're very thankful for that, because we've been able to keep all of our volunteers and all of our packing very safe in COVID-19. All of the protocol that we've all kind of gotten used to and probably are getting tired of, we follow, including masks, gloves, sanitizing, social distancing, all of that. And that space helps us to do that. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to do a big thank you to really everybody in this room and all of our donors and volunteers. As Jen noted, this mission that we do together doesn't run without volunteers, and it doesn't run without donors. And I have to tell you that, and I'm sure Jen would agree, the generosity that's been coming from the community in this pandemic has been absolutely extraordinary. I've been doing this work for over 12 years, probably 20 years if you count my board experience, and you probably should. Have never seen anything like this, even during the Great Recession and its aftermath. The outpouring of support has been absolutely extraordinary. And I will put in a plug. I told Jennifer before the meeting that I would embarrass her a bit, and how I know she would never do this herself. So we're coming up on the holidays, and it's holiday giving time. Please remember the work that Jen and her team at the York County Food Bank are doing as we approach the holiday season. That work is only going to ramp up even more. So you have a tremendous local food bank who deserves your support with the holiday season coming along. So I just want to do a quick thank you, and also thank our friends from the York County Community Foundation as well. One of the organizations that I'll mention a little bit later, but it has also been very generous in the pandemic. So just very quickly, that's the region that we serve as Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. So that's 27 counties. We have almost 1,000 partner agencies and programs that we work with. The vast majority are not on the scale that Jen and her team at York County Food Bank are. And we have many much smaller pantries, et cetera, most of them faith-based. But we also work with schools. We work with boys and girls clubs. We work with really any charitable or faith-based organization that, as part of their mission, is serving folks that are struggling with food insecurity. And we have an agreement with all of them to follow the right compliance and protocol, because we're dealing with food, which needs to be safe all the time. And of course, now we're dealing with the pandemic. Probably the biggest item of note on the page is that part that's under, that refers to COVID. Prior to the crisis, throughout the 27 counties, Central Penn Food Bank was serving about 135,000 people each month, counting children. In the crisis, that's more like 200,000. So we're looking at 40-some% increase in people that are struggling. And I think we all know why, with the economic crisis that is kind of tracking along with COVID. Even with the recent improvements, in the employment picture, we still have a lot of people unemployed, and that's what's driving the increase. Pennsylvania's unemployment numbers for September as a state, we still have over 500,000 Pennsylvanians that are unemployed. Relative to last year at this time, that's about 70%, 70, more people that are unemployed in Pennsylvania as a whole. So that'll give you the idea of why we continue to see such high food insecurity. Just wanted to point out those 200,000 folks that we're serving. Some of that service comes in the form of crisis response boxes. Jennifer and her team have been distributing thousands of these boxes each and every week. And we've actually packed over 250,000 and shipped out to partners like York County Food Bank, over 250,000 of those already, and they still continue to be produced at our packing center. And that's only part of the really healthy food that people are receiving. We also do a substantial amount of fresh and frozen products. In fact, about 55% of our distribution, so more than half for Central Penn Food Bank, is actually either fresh or frozen. So think fresh produce, eggs, milk, cheese, frozen meats, just wonderful product that kind of meets up at our partner agencies, and they distribute the boxes and bags of all of this great food to people in need. So we are very proud, and I know Jen is very proud as well, of the quality of the food that's going to people in need. And the quality has never been better than right now, as we see more very healthy product from our farms and food service businesses being diverted by the USDA from the markets that are struggling, where they normally sell their products, coming to the USDA and then to our food banks. So really excited about the quality of the food anyway. And just to give you a visual on what that means, 44 million pounds that our food bank has shared with all of our partners throughout central Pennsylvania during the pandemic. That's almost a 50% increase. Just incredible amounts of food assistance. Just very quickly, this is really estimates provided by our national affiliate, Feeding America. And based on the unemployment rates a few months ago, this was an estimate of the additional food insecure people in central Pennsylvania, really staggering numbers. We know that that's improved since then somewhat, and we expect some updated numbers here in the coming weeks that will help us in our programming work to make sure we're dealing with demand as it is now. But I think the takeaway is really an incredible increase in the amount of families and individuals that are food insecure because of the pandemic. This is an interesting slide. That's also the entire 27 county central Pennsylvania. On the left was what food insecurity rates, and essentially food insecurity means not having enough food consistently for a healthy life. So that's kind of the layman's definition of food insecurity. But the rates in 2018, which we thought were pretty tough and challenging back then, you can see on the 2020 map on the right, the heat map shows, wow, those dark reds and maroons coming in, much higher food insecurity rates. York County, like all counties, food insecurity increased, but York County doing a bit better than some of our very heavily rural areas on the western and northern part of our territory. So the takeaway there is that food insecurity has really gone up dramatically in rural areas with job losses and other challenges in those areas. And that's probably a bit of a surprise to some people, but that's the reality of food insecurity, particularly in the pandemic. This is a lot going on in this slide. So I think this is kind of us proving to you that we study the situation and doing our work. So this is just some highlights on food insecurity in York County and how we're addressing it together, folks like York County Food Bank in particular and our other partners. But if you look at that middle graph, you'll see those columns growing and the amount of colorful parts of the graphs growing. The more color means the healthiest foods. So we're continually providing more and more food into York County and more better food. And then you can see the last column on the right, fiscal 20, just a staggering amount of food. That's actually about 7 million pounds in the pandemic. And that it's much healthier food than, say, even 5 and 6 years ago. So we're very, very proud of that. I will say this, the food insecurity numbers on that map are not the COVID numbers. It's actually gotten worse, as we saw on the previous slide. The next topic I want to jump into, I really want to commend our York County partners, and York County Food Bank being one of those. We have been working together for several years on a project called the Seat at the Table, which is funded by the York Memorial Health Fund and administered through the York County Community Foundation, where we did a deep dive study with a lot of analysis and surveying, including surveying at the street level with clients, to really get a picture of food insecurity in York County at a very deep level, even below a zip code level. And we really found some surprising information about the pockets of food insecurity. And much like the previous slide, the darkest maroon that you see on the eastern side of York County along the river, showing some pretty significant areas of need that are not being met. And I will say, since then, we are in phase 2 of the project right now. We are taking the actions with our partners to address those areas of need. The pandemic has certainly made the challenges a little greater, but I also will say the generosity of donors and food supplies are up to the challenge, and we're making good progress. So some of the key strategies were to identify and develop regional hubs. One of them is on the phone with me, or on the meeting with me right now. That would be York County Food Bank, and there are others. Leveraging mobile pantries and some additional smaller regional hubs to reach some of the harder to reach areas. We also wanted to expand and support the partners that we work to help remove some barriers. And we've learned some lessons in the pandemic, particularly about our populations of color and how we need to do more work that's, more than pounds of food to reach some of our underserved communities. And I would say we're making good progress there. And then, of course, our school models are really important. That's very challenging these days. I think we're all aware of the challenges of reopening schools and the varied approaches and the community by community challenges. That has made the school pantry models that we are working towards a bit more challenging. But the flip side of that is the conversations are more frequent, and they are deeper now, as our friends really throughout the communities, but our school partners have a much increased visibility on food insecurity than they did prior to the pandemic. It's really shown a bright light within our school districts about where need is and how we can address it. So we look forward in the future to leveraging that knowledge. I just want to do some thank yous here. The folks I already mentioned, the York Memorial Health Fund as the funder, and the York County Community Foundation, Jen and her team at York County Food Bank. I also want to mention committee members Eric Saunders from New Hope Ministries, Chris Pollock from Catholic Harvest in York, Joanne Ward Cottrell from Wellspan, also representing the York County Food Alliance, Jessica Maccabee with the York County Human Services Department, an incredible partner in our work all the time, especially during COVID. Cindy Abbott, who leads the Mason-Dixon Community Services down in Southern York County. Natalie Williams from the United Way of York County. I put parentheses there, the COVID-19 fund. Jen and I and several others also work with Natalie and Lise Levin from the foundation in a COVID-19 fund that's trying to address human services needs that are very specific to the pandemic. So that work is going on in addition to the seat at the table work. Proud to be at that table as well. And then myself and Tara Davis from our food bank. So really important work, and I will say it's groundbreaking with respect to our food bank. It's the first county we've ever done this type of deep work and analysis, and the coalition work that's going on is spectacular. I just want you to know that. Right now, what do we do now, and what do we need as far as the increased need? The key point that I want to make here is, well, first of all, give hope now. So that means your support is vital. And I mentioned early in the program that York County Food Bank could use that support. And that's really important. We expect this recovery cycle from COVID to last at least 2 years. History says it actually takes longer than that. Following the Great Recession, it took like 4 years to kind of stabilize the amount of people that were coming for food assistance in terms of the increase that happened in the recession. So underlying COVID, we had a very strong economy when we entered COVID. We're seeing some improvement, but there are challenges on the horizon. But if this moves along at a pretty rapid pace, we're still expecting at least 2 more years of record high demand for food assistance. That's probably the best case scenario. And I just wanted to share some of the programs that help us get the work done. We saw the crisis food boxes on an earlier slide. Military share program that we operate in most of our counties with our military service organizations to support specifically veterans and active duty military personnel and their families that are struggling. And our senior program, Jen runs this in York. We call it Elder Share. The technical name is the Commodity Supplemental Food Program. But in York County, Jen and her team do a great job. Youth programs, we talked a little bit about the importance of those and mobile distributions. Mobile means basically we don't have a fixed site, so we're making arrangements with a partner to bring a truckload of great food ready to go, ready to distribute, boxes, bags of healthy food, pop-up type pantries. And I know York County Food Bank had really outstanding success during COVID with pop-up pantries that they set up, which is a form of mobile distribution, and probably was a large part of their increase in the amount of food they provided. So kudos to Jen and her team on doing the best pop-ups that we've seen. And we talked already about the seat at the table and identifying underserved communities. So we're getting close towards the end, and I did want to leave a few minutes for questions for Jen and I. But this is all about being together. Jen mentioned it earlier, better together is the only way to do this work. So you see a picture there of one of our Hershey Foods friends who's volunteering at the packing center at the farm show. Volunteers are still needed by our organization, so we keep you safe. York County Food Bank keeps you safe. We definitely need volunteers still. We're very efficient. You know, together we're providing something like 6 meals for each dollar of funds that are provided to us. That's pretty amazing. We obviously have the scale and the, you know, the relationships to do that. You know, relationships that extend from really from farm to fork and everywhere in between. You know, thinking about our grocery partners, that readily comes to mind. But we actually work at the farm level, and we also have a cooperative of food banks that we started some years back that is an incredible success, all trying to find that really healthy food that takes some innovation to get to. But once we set up those relationships, it's very efficient, very good food. And also advocating. So volunteering and donating are very important, but your voice with our with our friends in public service, whether they're in Washington, D.C. or in the state capitol or locally, your voice is powerful. A food bank's voice is helpful, but we actually need people that have relationships with our elected officials to help us get the message across on whether it's helpful legislation or legislation that's might be troublesome for people in need. Your voice can be very helpful in getting our legislators to really understand what our clients are dealing with, which might be a lot different than the typical sort of political talking points. Our families are struggling and more so now than ever. So advocacy continues to be very important. So I want to thank you. This is how you could reach me at any time. I pride myself on being available even during COVID. I'm working in kind of a makeshift office here at our Healthy Food Hub in Harrisburg. But you can find me. That's how to do it. And then this is how to find us on social media. So that'll end my prepared presentation, and I'll look to the technical folks to start the Q&A.
Thank you, Joe and Jen. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today, and also your important service to our community as anti-hunger advocates. Thank you for all the efforts that you have deployed over your careers and certainly over the last 7 months against, just staggering and immediate increase in demand to help reduce food security in our communities and in our Commonwealth and to keep our folks healthy. So Joe, please say hello to my friend James Good at the Harrisburg Rotary Club. We do have a couple questions for you, and a couple of those were answered as far as the folks that you partner with in the community in your comments, but you mentioned volunteers. And I think you could both speak to this, Jen and Joe, about, could you share in light of COVID how you are securing volunteers, how are you keeping them safe, and possibly how did that change your operations?
I'll start it off. We are not doing any packing at our hub in Harrisburg or our second hub way up in Williamsport because we didn't have enough space to do it right. So when you come onto the farm show, you sign up to volunteer on our website. But as soon as you come in, one of the first things that happens is sorry, I was getting a little feedback. When you come into our packing center, you'll watch a video on safety. You'll be socially distanced. Even when you come in, you have to sit on a chair that's distanced, stand on an X when you watch the video. And we have sturdy gloves that you get to keep as a volunteer. Yeah, bring your own mask, or we supply masks. Sanitizing happens constantly. All of the packing lines are spaced far apart. The individual stations where each person packs is a solid 10 feet from the next person. And the video walks through how we are asking people to behave, when they're at the facility. And of course, the restrooms and everything are kept spotlessly clean and all of that. So really all of the things that you expect people to do according to the CDC guidelines, we're doing, and our attention to that is pretty strict. And our team will counsel people if they violate the COVID rules. So pretty strong protocol on our part. Jen?
Yeah, similar to Joe, we are putting forth many of those safety measures to make sure that we are keeping our volunteers safe. For us, our volunteer need grew drastically with COVID. And a good part of that had to do with a good portion of our volunteer base were our seniors that did not feel comfortable coming and helping us in the beginning. They have started to come back and help assist us with our packing of food boxes and our distribution. And on distribution day, which right now is taking place on Tuesdays, we need up to 100 volunteers. So it's a big production, a day that does require a good number of volunteers. And again, we would not be able to do what we're doing, the amount of food that's getting out into the community without the enormous support of all those volunteers that are coming and helping us. And like Joe, we are spacing everybody apart, making sure everyone is wearing their masks. And part of what we did too is by opening up that emergency food hub, we quickly recognized that our current location on Princess Street in the city was just not large enough for us to be able to space individuals and make sure we were doing social distancing. So the larger a hub really gives us that ability to make sure that we can space everyone and do the work that we need to do in a safe way to keep everybody healthy.
Thank you for putting the P in pivot, to both of you, for dealing with your increased volunteer needs and then the restrictions that are in place to keep them safe. I think you can both answer this question as well. How are you utilizing social media that could possibly be to help address the increased need that you have in volunteers, as well as to get the word out as to when and where and how folks can safely access the healthy and amazing food you're providing?
Social media is really important. It's one of the communication channels that we use every day, and we're blessed that we have a small communications team here, because yours truly is not particularly skilled with social media, but the messaging that's important, I have a hand in that, and that could be anything from really important information that needs to get out quickly, say early in the pandemic, the rule set was changing like constantly, if we remember that. And social media was really important for us to communicate, to make sure that our volunteers knew what to expect. Clients coming for food knew what to expect. Our partner agencies knew the latest and greatest very quickly. And I know Jen will attest to that. That was a very challenging time, but there's also positives to social media. So we use it to communicate with donors, volunteers, make sure we're raising awareness, to get our advocacy followers to reach out to their public servants, and on and on. It's really vital, and that's why the last slide on my slide deck had our various social media addresses on it. Jen?
Similarly, yes, it's definitely a tool, a communication tool that we use every day to get the message out there. And even with those that are visiting our food pantries and our distribution, especially when we have to make changes and alterations in terms of, especially as we get into the colder months, we are starting to know that there might be some changes that have to happen. So we are always pushing people, encouraging people to check our social media so that they can keep informed, and also making sure that we're translating information as best as possible. For us in York County, primarily that would be in Spanish. So we do that as much as possible to make sure that we really are targeting everyone and everyone understands and knows where they can access food.
I'm going to unmute Anne.
Want me to repeat that? Okay. Joe, this question would be for you, and that is, could you speak to the Rotary District grant that you received?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. We were extremely gratified and thankful. Some weeks back, the Rotary District at our two clubs, the one that I belong to in Harrisburg, as well as Rotary Club of York County, provided a $25,000 gift to Central Pennsylvania Food Bank to fight hunger within the district, basically. And you know, $25,000 gift, we definitely consider that a major gift. You don't see those all the time. That was really important, and it's important certainly from the funding aspect, but for all of the clubs in the district to get together and raise that gift, and all of the Rotarians to be part of that. And being a Rotarian, I know how powerful that is in all of our communities. Was just so powerful to show the community what Rotary does. And then that actually choosing our mission, our collective mission, to support in that way, just incredibly powerful statement in the community. So President Ann, thank you for that reminder. In many ways, that was an extraordinary gift. Certainly in my 20 years associated with this mission, I've never seen anything like that in terms of a Rotary gift. So we're very thankful.
Thank you, Joe. We're blessed to be a part of District 7390 with you in the Harrisburg Club. I'd like to thank Joe and Jen for taking your time out to join us today. We appreciate the great work that you're doing in our community, and stay safe. Joe, we do have in honor of you joining us as our speaker today, we have a book donation, and we'll ask you to sign the book plate into a book called Don't Ask Me Where I'm From by Jennifer Leon. And this will be presented to the York Country Day Upper School Library in honor of our students of the month, Molly and Raphael. So thanks for that. And I would like to also give a huge shout out to our triumvirate of our meeting technology gurus, and that is Ben and Chris. Ben and Chris and Courtney. Yes, Courtney, thank you. You heard her voice. Those three have really made the ability to stay connected. Early on in March with Josh, Courtney stepped up to keep you connected via our weekly meetings. And, you know, we're having a couple bumps in the road here with the hybrid meeting, and Chris and Courtney and Ben have been all over it. So thank you very much to them. We really appreciate it. We hope that you join us next week. Our speaker will be Dr. Alyssa Moyer, who leads the response of WellSpan Health to the COVID-19 pandemic. Her talk will focus on the recent developments and lessons learned. I'm sure there are many. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful and safe week. Take care, and a treat for your ears. This is a request from Brian Grimm. These boots are made for walking by Nancy Sinatra. Don't blame me. You can thank Brian. Take care, everyone.